be honest, I wasn't getting paid, and I felt like my art direction was being taken into a whole new domain, you know?
I'll be honest, few names in South African music have caused as much chaos, drama, and betrayal as Ambitiouz Entertainment. Once hailed as the powerhouse that built stars like Emtee, Blaq, and Sjava, today it's remembered as the label that broke them. The rise of Ambitiouz was meteoric, but its fall, that was satisfying to watch. Hi. Today we're diving deep into the story of how one of South Africa's biggest record labels went from launching superstars to losing every single one of them. This is the satisfying downfall of Ambitiouz Entertainment. Our story begins in 2015. A new label bursts onto the scene, led by a man named Gosi. He called it Ambitiouz Entertainment, spelled with a Z, because even the name had to sound edgy. At first, everything looked perfect. Ambitiouz was signing some of the most promising young artists in the country. Emtee, Fifi Cooper, B3 A-Reece, Blaq, and Sjava. Within 2 years, Ambitiouz had done what few labels ever manage. Complete domination, hit after hit. Roll up! Amazulu. Everywhere you looked, radio, TV, clubs, it was Ambitiouz. They were unstoppable. But behind the awards and music videos, something darker was brewing. You see, Ambitiouz wasn't just another label pushing culture forward. They were building a system that looked like opportunity but operated like a trap. And that system was called the 360 deal. If you don't know how 360 deals work, here's the short version. Traditionally, artists made money from album sales and shows, with labels taking a fair share. But the 360 deal changed that. It meant the label wanted a slice of everything: your music, performances, endorsements, merch, even your YouTube ads. It's basically the label acting like a venture capitalist. They fund you up front, but they only a part of your entire life.
Never step out of character. You know, so even when I was feeling somehow mad and, you know, how can they do me like this? At the same time, I was like, yo, just walk away, you know?
Yeah.
And just close that chapter. Same time, don't even, you know what I'm saying, like, go to people, try to get people to gas me up and all that. Just keep it moving. I got 2 beautiful kids to focus on, my own family, and this, that, and the third. I can't be dwelling on it. Gotta shoot and move.
So, cool. We've spoken about that.
In theory, that model helps both sides win. But Ambitiouz Entertainment took it to the extreme. According to multiple artists and court documents, Ambitiouz used the 360 system not to support artists, but to own them. Their contracts were built to ensure that the more successful you became, the more control the label gained. Here's how it worked. Artists signed contracts giving Ambitiouz total control over bookings, fees, and payments. Even money from live performances didn't go to the artist. It went straight to Ambitiouz. Then came the excuse, we're just recouping our costs. Studio time, PR, marketing, travel. Somehow all those expenses conveniently ate up everything. So even when artists were topping charts and packing out venues, they were broke. That wasn't partnership. It was modern-day servitude dressed in designer clothes. And it gets worse. You'd think at least your music, your art, your masters would belong to you. Wrong. Ambitiouz made artists sign over all intellectual property. The label owned every master recording, not just while you were signed, forever. And when artists tried to leave, Ambitiouz weaponized that ownership like a legal nuke. Take Fifi Cooper, for example. She was one of Ambitiouz's breakout stars, the first lady of the label. But when she left in 2017, Ambitiouz took her to court. They didn't just want money, they got an interdict banning her from performing her own songs. Imagine that. The music that made you famous, legally taken away from you, if not for political intervention, specifically Julius Malema and the EFF. Her career might have ended there.
I think the biggest lesson for me that I took, from the whole thing was the fact that it's good to stand up for yourself. It's good as an artist to know what you want. It's good to also know your vision. And I'm super blessed that, with the whole situation, Julius was able to help me with the court case. So now, I can record, I can, continue with my journey as a musician. And yeah, man, I'm just grateful that I can still be here and, give the fans what they really want, which is the music.
And that's truly what the fans really want, but it's also very important for artists and musicians to be able to know and understand the business of things.
True.
For them not to find themselves in contracts where they are not privy to their own creativity.
True. It's very important. Lady artists, upcoming artists, I always remind them, you know what, you need to learn the business side of things a little bit. At least now we have Google where you can Google everything. If you want to know anything about Sambro royalties, just go on the Sambro website. They have all the information there. So I always encourage, upcoming artists to do a little bit of homework when it comes to the business side of music.
The EFF funded her legal defense and helped her win back her right to perform. That victory made headlines and exposed Ambitiouz for what it truly was. Not a home for artists, but a machine designed to drain them. When Amanda Blaq left Ambitiouz, she didn't just walk away. She went to war. In 2018, she filed a lawsuit accusing the label of withholding over R1 million in performance fees and awards. The receipts were damning. Court papers showed that Ambitiouz pocketed all of Amanda's performance money and paid her nothing. Every gig, every award show, all the money went into the label's account. Their defense? We're paying ourselves back. Studio costs, distribution, PR, the same tired story. But the truth was clear. Amanda Blaq, one of the biggest voices in South African music, was working for free. When the High Court ruled in her favor, it wasn't just a legal win. It was exposure. The mask was off. And after that, the dominoes started to fall. Amanda Blaq's victory showed other artists they weren't crazy.
It's the future, man. I'm on a new journey, a new chapter, new energy. It's a new year, a new song. So my new record label is called Afro Rockstar. The reason I decided to open my own thing is its foundation. I wanted to build something for myself.
Nobody had the courage to leave record labels. It only happened after I left. Ricky Rick left, Mabala, Gemini Major left, Family Tree. And the thing is, it's very difficult when you're in a record label. You are hungry. They are not hungry, they just want money. So they will never think about how you feel. So it's very scary. And I feel sad for other artists that are left in the record label because we used to talk about this and they know exactly what's happening, but they don't have the...
They were trapped in the same nightmare. Fifi Cooper had escaped, Amanda had won in court, and suddenly everyone wanted out. Between 2017 and 2020, Ambitiouz faced a mass exodus. A-Reece left, Flovme left, B3 Enchma Q left, Emtee left, Gigi Lamaine, Pretty Ugly, Saudi, KLY, Sjava, gone. One after another, Ambitiouz's golden roster vanished. These weren't just artists, they were the foundation of the label's empire. And they all told the same story. No money, no freedom, no transparency. By 2020, Ambitiouz had lost nearly everyone who made them famous. But they didn't stop there. After losing their stars, Ambitiouz shifted strategy, focusing less on signing new talent and more on owning old catalogs. When Blaq Diamond, the duo behind Summer Yomuthi, decided to leave, Ambitiouz made another power move. instead of suing the artists directly, they went after YouTube, filing legal actions over who had the right to control and monetize the duo's music online. That's how deep the label's obsession with ownership went. Even after artists left, Ambitiouz continued to milk their old songs through copyright claims, takedowns, and digital rights management. The label that once built stars had turned into a copyright collection agency, feeding off the work of artists it had already drained. By 2021, Ambitiouz wasn't known for music anymore. It was known for controversy. The same label that once dominated charts was now being roasted online by fans, artists, and journalists. Twitter threads called it the most exploitative label in South Africa. Articles called it a cautionary tale. Even the artists themselves began speaking out, not with bitterness, but with relief. Sjava moved on, thriving as an independent artist. Amanda Blaq started her own label, Afro Rockstar, partnering with Sony to stay in control. A-Reece became one of the country's most respected independent rappers, building his own empire. The label that once looked untouchable was now reduced to lawsuits, ghost artists, and a shattered reputation. And yet, technically, Ambitiouz still exists. Their website still lists artists like Emtee, Amanda Blaq, and A-Reece, as if pretending nothing happened. But they don't control those artists. What they do control are the master recordings, the digital goldmine created by the very people they pushed away. So yes, Ambitiouz Entertainment still exists, but only as a shadow, feeding off the ghosts of the careers it once consumed. Ambitiouz wasn't the first label to exploit artists, and it won't be the last. But what makes this story powerful is how it exposed the system itself. The 360 deal model, when abused, turns creativity into debt. It gives labels unlimited power while leaving artists legally trapped, emotionally drained, and financially empty. The Ambitiouz saga showed us exactly how bad it can get. When a label controls your income, your bookings, your masters, even your name, it stops being business and becomes ownership. That's the tragedy behind the downfall of Ambitiouz Entertainment. Because while the label fell from grace, it left behind artists who had to rebuild from zero. Not because they lacked talent, but because they signed contracts when they were desperate for a chance. The music industry calls it recoupment, but in reality, it's repayment through servitude. Still, out of that pain came change. The Fifi Cooper case set a legal precedent, proving artists could fight back and win. The EFF's intervention showed that without outside help, most artists couldn't even afford justice. Amanda Blaq's lawsuit did something bigger. It proved that the system can be beaten in court, that a label's recoupment excuse can be exposed as pure exploitation. And now, because of these cases, South Africa is rethinking how artist contracts work. Legal experts and policymakers are debating reforms, like 25-year clauses that return music rights to the artist after a generation. In other words, the Ambitiouz downfall may have sparked the beginning of a new era of accountability. Here's the thing. Ambitiouz Entertainment didn't fall because of bad music. It fell because of greed. It wasn't creative failure. It was ethical collapse. They had everything, the talent, the hits, the spotlight, but instead of building a legacy, they built a prison and then locked themselves inside it. Now, their biggest hits are reminders of what could have been. Emtee's Roll Up, Amanda Blaq's Amazulu, Sjava's Ekseni, all timeless songs, forever tied to a label whose name became a warning sign. In a way, it's poetic. Ambitiouz Entertainment wanted to own their artists forever. But in the end, their downfall became the one story they could never control. So what can we learn from the satisfying downfall of Ambitiouz Entertainment? Simple. In the music industry and in life, ownership matters. Your voice, your art, your work, protected. Because once you sign it away, getting it back might cost you everything. And as for Ambitiouz, they built an empire on ambition, but forgot that ambition without ethics is just exploitation with better lighting.